Hey guys, and welcome to the By Design panel for Camp YA Day 3. I am joined here by Micaela and Robyn, and both of them work in production and in design. And we're just going to have a little bit of chat of how these fantastic books that you buy and see come to be and how, they look so amazing. So thank you both so much for joining me today.
Thank
Thanks
you
for
for having
having.
us.
Thanks for having us.
We're so happy to be, discussing these things. These entire weekend, we're discussing different parts of publishing and different versions of publishing, and just feel like production and design is something that hasn't always been talked about very often.
Mm.
So I think, thank you for being here. And let's just start off a little bit. Robyn, can you tell a little bit about yourself?
Yes, so I'm a production controller in publishing. So that essentially means I look after the book as a physical product and work with editorial and design, sales, marketing, inventory, and the printers to carry this book through from the fully edited manuscript all the way through to it being in the shops. So it's a long procedure. It can be roughly around 9 months, give a month or two. It's kind of like delivering a baby, and that's kind of how I see it sometimes. And all the parts come together, and then the book's there at the end, and that's essentially what I do.
Like the glue that holds it all together.
I'd love to be the glue that holds it. Everybody's the glue. I'm a bit of the glue.
They're all pages. You're the glue.
Yeah, well, that's I like that. That's good. I like that.
Michaela, can you tell us yourself?
So I'm Micaela Alcaino. I am a book cover designer and illustrator. I used to work for Penguin Random House, and then I moved over to HarperCollins, and then a couple of years ago I went freelance, almost 3 years ago. And then ever since I've been working for most of the publishers around the world, in the States, in the UK, in Australia, in Canada. So yeah, and I basically just design front covers. And yeah, my niche is usually fantasy, YA, mass market literary, kind of a combination of everything, really. Yeah, and I love what I do.
Amazing. It must be amazing to be able to work with all of these different publishers.
Yeah, it's really great to kind of create those connections, and because when you're working in house, you only have the people that you're working with there. But as a freelancer, you get to kind of make those connections with art directors and editors from many different imprints inside different publishers. So I might be working from like this person in this imprint in Penguin Random House, but then this person from a different imprint in Penguin Random House in a different area. Yeah.
Fantastic. Question to you both. Have you always wanted to work in publishing in your field?
So me, I was coming to the end of my undergraduate degree, and I knew I wanted to in publishing, but I only ever you only know about editorial roles as well as on all the films and on TV. So I knew I wanted to work with books, but I was like, oh, I don't think I want to be an editor. And then a short course came up could get into book publishing, and it was 4 days, and it had an hour on every segment in publishing, absolutely everything you can think of, and even bookish jobs outside of publishing, so publishing recruitment or book selling and loads of different things. And then when it came to the production um, hour, the teacher got a book and a knife and cut it up and like showed us what it was made of, and I was like, wow, this is so cool. And I was like, that's for me. I've always been quite crafty and like making things, and I was like, that's just arts and crafts for grown-ups. So I was like, that's what I want to do. So then I went and did my MA in publishing, and I did a production module, and I knew from the beginning, and all my lecturers knew that production was what I wanted to do. So it made it quite easy for me to sort of channel all of that energy. And then I was very lucky when the assistant job came up at HarperCollins for production, and then it all sort of fell into place. And I absolutely love it.
Amazing.
So I have a very different route into publishing. I did a digital media degree in uni back in Sydney. I'm from Australia, and I never ever knew about publishing as a job. at all. I didn't even think about it, like, and we never got told about it or anything like that. And then I moved to London for work because Sydney was not having as much creative kind of jobs happening, and then everyone was moving to Melbourne. So I was like, oh, I'll just move to London instead. Why not? And then I literally applied to every graphic design job I could find out there, and I think I applied for about 200 jobs, and the first interview I got was at Transwell, which is Penguin Random House. And yeah, and luckily they gave me a chance. I actually showed up to the interview absolutely not knowing what the job was, because I had applied to so many that I had just completely lost track. So I was like, but it's the first interview, I'm just gonna go to it. And then I saw, like, I walked in and I saw all these books on the creative director's walls, and I was like, I don't care what this job is, I just want to be here. So many books, and I used to, I've always loved reading growing up. My parents wouldn't let me watch TV during the week for school week, so I just, my form of entertainment was getting lost into a book. So yeah, I fell into it, and I haven't looked back since.
Yeah, I think a lot of us can fit in the same category there. Like, I moved from Amsterdam to London to also start in publishing. So yeah, London is the place to be for publishing, I feel like.
I think the beauty about
Fantastic.
London, though, is that they, unlike most capital cities, London is always willing to give newbies a chance. And sometimes you do have to work really hard to get those chances, but those chances are always available and open. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled, work hard.
Definitely, that's some really good advice. So yeah, so Micaela, you're basically the one that starts with the book, and then Robyn, you kind of finish it in a way, I suppose, when you both are working on it. Micaela, if you get contacted to do a design, do you get a brief? Do you read the book? How do you start?
So it's usually so the normal path into creating a book cover is that once a book is acquired in-house, then they start, the editor will build a brief, and then either the editor or the art director will give you the brief, give me the brief as the designer, or the illustrator. And basically, the brief is usually great. But for me, I think one thing I always learned, and one of my creative directors would say this, is read the book, because the brief will only get you so far. And for me, and not many designers do this, but for my practice, I'd like to read pretty much every manuscript I get given, and for every project that I get given. So yeah, usually the process into starting a design is I get briefed. I'll try and read the manuscript as quickly as possible, and then give a start date on when the project starts. But I'm sure Robyn understands, like, when a book is bought, there is a bit of a period where, a waiting period until the book is close enough to publication. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, is about 3 to 6 months out. That's when the design process, sometimes 9 months out, when the design process starts. But Robyn, you probably know this more than I do.
No, that's about right.
So
yeah, and then
sorry, go ahead.
Go on. No, that was all I was going to say.
So at what point do you come in, Robyn?
So I'll usually come in. I end up doing the text and I'm working with the editor on the text and the designers on the cover at the same time. So depending on the project, if we're doing multiple editions, or some books just require more of that than others, especially if there's multiple covers or different design elements. So I usually come in when the manuscript has been pretty much finished with the author and the editor. So I'll then send that for typesetting, and then if the designer wants any sort of checks done on the cover on how it will maybe be printed, if it's a particularly complex design or it has very detailed foil or anything like this, sometimes we can do some proof runs of it, so we can see how the colors will come out and we can test it. So that's where my relationship with design will come in. Sometimes the designer might say, oh, this this might be quite fine, could you ask the printer if this will work? And I'm kind of like the mediator in between everybody to make sure that everything's right, funneled it in so that it prints correctly at the end with no mistakes. That's the aim, no mistakes, and everything's great at the end.
Fantastic. So does the designer, do you kind of say, okay, I want this would be good in foil, or do you guys at production do that?
No. So the designers have complete control over how it looks, and obviously the editor will have some input as well. And
as well as the budget.
Yeah, and the budget. I might sort of say if it doesn't work for budget reasons or something else, I can suggest other things that we could use where, we have like samples of things that we can use from printers to try something else to achieve a similar effect or a different effect. So
yeah, kind of like use a metallic Pantone instead of a foil, which might be slightly cheaper, something like that.
What is the craziest book you guys have ever worked on?
I don't know if I could say that there's a craziest book. All the projects are fun and they all take their own journey. Some take much longer than others, but I wouldn't say that there is a craziest book. I mean, there are probably more fun projects, but in terms of crazy, I don't know.
Okay,
no, I can't think of any crazy ones.
Okay, let me reform the question then. What is a book that was an absolute nightmare but turned out amazingly?
Oh. No, none of them are nightmares. They all have like challenges, but none of them are nightmares. Because at the end, the best part is just no matter how much work you put into it. At the end, when you see it, you're like, oh, like I worked on that, and that now it's there. And then I love it when people start posting photos of it on social media, and I'm like, I helped make it.
I think for me, the biggest challenge, I wouldn't say that there is particular books that have challenges. I think the biggest challenge sometimes for me is if the tweaking around takes a lot of scheduled in for, and then it becomes kind of trying to juggle a few things until the tweaks are done. So like an average tweaking round would be like 5 tweaks from first concept round. So normally I design 6 to 8 concepts for the cover, and then the cover meeting and the art director and editor will choose which kind of direction they want to take the cover. So say like out of the 6 concepts, we like concept 3, but we like the font from concept 6, and kind of, in those kind of tweaking rounds. But sometimes, they go up to 5 rounds, but then sometimes I've had covers that take 20. And so I would say I would put the 20 tweaking rounds into the slightly crazier and more high demanding kind of covers. But as Robyn said, and I know Robyn and I talked about this, for me, sometimes it just makes the cover better from where I first brought it to where it takes. Like, for example, can I show you one of the books? For example, Ariadne. The first 6 or 8 designs that I did for this one, there was one that had similar coloring, similar kind of style, but we did countless tweaking rounds, but it only made the cover better, and I wouldn't have been able to do it without the collaboration of the art director and us kind of bouncing ideas off each other. And I'm really happy with that, how it turns. So as Robyn said as well, I completely agree. I don't think that there is craziest or highest demanding one, but I think there are ones that require a lot more of your time.
Do you ever work with the author at all on covers on the book?
Robyn?
Not really. I don't really.
For me, I do only when it's a self-published author. Very, very rarely do I discuss kind of collaboratively with the author if it's an in-house job, because that's usually through agent and then through the editor and then through the art director and then to me. So it's kind of like Chinese whispers kind of thing. But it's I think for self-published authors, if I'm designing for them, then it's just me and them kind of going through the process together.
So you've already touched upon it a little bit. What are kind of limitations or other things that you have to think about within, obviously, you said the budget and things, but are there any other limitations that you got to work with?
Robyn, yeah, go for it.
So sometimes scheduling and timing it can be a big factor. If we need a book to publish on a particular date, that is always a consideration. That's a big part of my job anyway, is scheduling. I'm a massive person for planning and like timelines and spreadsheets. So I like to make sure I know where everything has to be in order to get where we want. Because I always like the editors and the designers to get exactly what they want for their book. I don't ever want to be the person that's like, oh, we don't have time for that, or we can't do that. So as long as we get in early enough, which normally we do, it's just a matter of being like, okay, so you want this finish, you need this thing done. Here's where we need to be at each stage in order to make sure you can have it. So budget, scheduling are the main things. And yeah, that's all I can
think I completely agree with in terms of scheduling and budget. Time is more important, and the deadline's more important than anything else. The budget, again, you can beg all you want, but if there's no budget for gold foil, you're not going to get gold foil. But for me, I think the biggest limitation, well, I wouldn't call them limitations, I'd call them boundaries. Probably if you're designing for a genre, you need to understand that you're designing for a certain type of audience. So if I'm doing YA, then I need to make sure that this book appeals to the YA market. It doesn't matter how pretty the book is, but if it's not appealing to the YA market, then there's no point. So I think genre plays a massive role in the constraints, and also as well as whether the brief says, well, we want to kind of follow what's already out there, or we want to make this completely new and different to what's out there. So usually if someone says we want this completely different, we want this something you've not really seen before, then it gives me a lot more freedom than if I'm doing a crime and thriller book, we want a blue background with yellow type on it, and make it kind of look thrillery. So, and that would be more following suit, because you know what you get with a crime thriller book cover. So I think apart from budget and scheduling, definitely the borders and boundaries would be the genre that you're designing for, and I think every designer needs to keep that in mind when they're designing.
What's your favorite genre to work on?
I mean, I love everything, but I'm not gonna lie. My favorite thing to read is fantasy, and whether that's YA fantasy or adult fantasy, like
it's the same for me.
Yeah, high five.
Big fantasy gal.
But I do love YA genre in general. I love literary, mass market. I love pretty much everything that gets put into my email, my inbox. So
I do feel very lucky that I get to work on Half a Voyager, because it's like the big fantasy imprints. All the books I'm like, yeah.
Just that you get all those beautiful sprayed edges as well on your bookshelf.
Make it pretty. Yeah.
The sprayed edges, is that also a note from the designer, or is that coming in-house?
So it's usually, if it's like a customer would like it, then it will go through design, and then the designer will pick a color that will complement it, and that's normally how it comes about.
So I mean,
sorry.
So for me, like in terms of so special editions, so like subscription boxes like Illumicrate or Fairylit will want their own exclusive edition. Sometimes they don't want to change the cover, but they want to make it exclusive in the sense of sprayed edge or stenciled edge. So the difference between sprayed edge is
the top
that would be a stenciled edge, and the top shelf of Robyn's is perfect. I don't know why I did that. So something like this, they said they wanted something more of an African print on this one for the Fairylit hardback edition. So then I created this pattern and then sent it to production in order to get this sprayed onto the book. But then a typical just block sprayed edge would be what's on top of Robyn's bookshelf of just a block color.
They just look amazing.
They're fun, right?
Oh, they're so fun.
But you'll never get a sprayed edge or stenciled edge for a big publishing, or like big kind of warehouse or something, or like Amazon. You'll always get it with indie products or book subscription boxes. Yeah, so like Waterstones or Goldsboro or Fairy Loot or Lumicray or anything like that.
Yeah, they add a little bit to the price tag, don't they?
A little bit, not too much.
So that's not really something that you would do often.
I
Robyn,
think
or...
more and more, yeah. I think it's getting more popular. So I would say a lot of the big book event publishing book titles that I work on, they'll make sure that Waterstones or Goldsboro or the indie publishers will at least have something that's slightly more unique. So, for example, and I know Robyn can talk more about this one, is Empire of the Vampire has
I pre-ordered that
a
one.
woohoo! So this one has, and this is a massive book. This one has so many special editions, and Robyn has the Black Waterstones one, which actually Robyn cut out. So this one would be considered your normal edition. That's the Waterstones, right?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, so the Waterstones made it exclusive with the full black sprayed edge. I know Goldsboro has made it exclusive with different type of foiling. Is
They've
that
got
correct?
a different jacket and they've got purple sprayed edges and they've got
Yeah.
some signed and some foil on the case.
And then also, I think Forbidden Planet have like a full black and white silver foiling cover of the same cover, just kind of like a silver and white background.
Forbidden Planet's the blue. They've got blue.
Oh no, yeah.
Bits.
Which one's the silver one then?
Silver one's Goldsboro.
Goldsboro. Okay. Yep. Okay. Yeah, so I think every different indie publisher and book subscription will have their own exclusive version so that no one else has that version.
Yeah, it's so interesting that they do that. Like I have a lot of the Fairy Loot books. So get the special editions there. I think that's
yes, I do love Fairy Loot as well.
Don't we all? We love Fairy Loot. I think it's also the publisher's way of making sure that indie publishing houses get sales, and that people aren't just buying from big places like Amazon or all those online kind of sale cut prices kind of places.
I mean, sometimes I would wish that some versions are more widely available.
Yeah.
I mean,
like what?
Oh, there's some like Barnes and Noble's versions of books where I'm like, I want this. But if I pay shipping, that's like 3 times the book.
It's a mouse. Yep. It is quite sad, but at the same time, being in the UK, I have a lot of people that say that on Instagram about the UK editions. And it's like, we're lucky enough to have a lot of great editions. So yeah, I think whenever I fly to meet some clients in America, I buy as many Barnes and Noble that I can find.
Amazing. What's the favorite book you guys have ever worked on?
It's like asking what your favorite child is. Not that I have children.
I didn't work on this book, but it's sort of, so I was obsessed with the binding, but this is before I worked in publishing and before I knew Micaela designed it. And I was at uni and my partner bought me a copy of the binding and I just thought it was so beautiful.
Oh, you got the betrayals as well. I didn't even grab that one off my shelf. There you go.
So I didn't work on it, but I was like, oh my God, this book's stunning. And then I ended up getting a job with the publisher that made it. And then I got to produce the betrayals, which was very cool. So it's kind of came full circle.
Amazing.
So, we're going to show board designs.
Oh yeah, board design is very important.
But this is a perfect example of budget. Like, without this being an event book, I wouldn't have been able to get the budget to foil, not just under the board at the front, which I'm sure if you see a lot of nice board foiling, you'll get this, but you won't get this. And I think that's the beauty about having, the publishing house to give you that budget to be able to make something it's not just beautiful with a cover, but the whole package. And as well as we have inside illustrations for the chapter heads,
and it really works for the theme of the book as well. That it just makes the book an experience as much as anything else.
And I mean that's kind of for me, part of my role and what I love doing as my job is to make the book something that you're going to love, not just by reading the content, but love having and putting on your shelf and looking at your shelf and going, oh, that's so pretty and stuff like that. Because I think for me, my biggest obsession has always been collecting secondhand books. The big, the secondhand books where it's all foiled, it's all kind of leather bound and stuff like that. And I thought, why haven't we brought that back in to publishing? It's always this kind of fast fashion way of designing books, but then I feel like
I love my really old ones.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
those
the
kind of
pages
things.
all brown. Like this one
And
was
I think that's
from
so perfect.
the 1800s, and it has like an inscription from somebody, and I just love that.
This one, which is like American book covers from 1875 and 1930, and it's just your typical kind of woodland and golf. I just loved it. You don't get those books much anymore, so I was just like, you know what? I see if I have budget for it, I'm going to try as much as possible. But it's even thought about how to design a spine, because at the end of the day, most bookshops, we will, when new books come in, we'll start putting that spine out. And if you're not thinking about how how pretty that looks on your shelf or in the bookshop, people aren't going to go, oh, that spine looks nice, I'll pick it out amongst like hundreds of other books.
No, literally. I mean, I don't, obviously, as a kind of a person within publishing and being aware of a lot of bloggers and things, I do pick up on a lot of books that I might not have normally picked up because people are, talking about it. But when I just walk into a Waterstones, it has to be a cover that grabs me. Because otherwise I don't pick it up. So it's so important to have the right cover with the right book, I think.
Yeah. Back to, as a designer, that's why I read the manuscripts, because the reason why I think this cover works so much is that the essence of this book is about kind of old book binding makers kind of thing. And I was just like, well, why don't we, instead of trying to emulate the whole story in the cover, why don't we emulate this book is part of that book inside this
part
book?
of the world,
like, if that makes sense. Yeah,
part of the universe
right?
of the book. Yeah.
And even just like the small aspect of the key does not play a massive role in the book. There was like one scene or something with a key in it. And the brief had nothing to say, oh, we want a key on the cover. But, if you read it and you find this nice little hidden Easter eggs, then you go, oh, that might work nicely on the cover. It might not need to read anything, but, key means mystery. It means something's hidden, locked away kind of thing. And you can use those things. But I think if you just stick to reading what a brief is, then I think you're limited. Again, that is a massive limitation. You're limited to only what's on that 2-word document telling you what the book is about.
Yeah. And Robyn, do you get to give opinions on things, or do you take the final product and bring it to the printers?
Generally I take the final product. But like I said, sometimes if a designer is looking for a specific look or texture or vibe or anything, I can work with the printers to see what we can do with it, and that's quite fun. And I love working on all the special editions, so I'm always talking to the editors and designers and getting very hyped up. But in general, I take their amazing designs and I take them to the printer, and I'm like, let's make this work. It looks stunning. Let's get it into the shops. So that's
I think
what I do.
It's so interesting though, because Robyn gets to do this. Actually go to the printers and see the machines actually
fun. I do
teaching
like
it through
doing
and
that.
everything.
That's a good part of the job. I like going there. So yeah, when I get to go to the printers, and because I liaise with them very closely every day, so getting to go to the printers and see all the machines working is a great part of the job. It's very, very fun. Yeah.
You print in the UK then?
Yeah, most of our books print here.
Yep.
Fantastic. How long does it take from you talking to the printers to the final product?
It depends on the project.
And the release date.
Yeah. But yeah, we recently went to see Empire of the Vampire, and that was on social media, and that was very fun, making videos for that. and sharing how that was made. That was a good day. It was a good trip.
I can imagine, yes. I'd love to go and see how that works more
Very
closely.
loud. It's very loud. The machines are very loud.
It reminds me of like old school, how they used to, print the magazines and newspapers and stuff. That's what I see in my
pretty
mind.
much. No, that's pretty much very close to what you're gonna get out of printers.
It's amazing. What are some of your most favorite trends of the last 10 years of designing?
Did you say trends?
Yeah, I think it was trends, like design trends.
Oh, you can't say the last 10 years because things change every year, really.
I need more of
And
this. I need more of these. This is my favorite.
well, you're the one that can talk about budget to give me those things to design, and then
I
you could get more of
I
this
need more edges.
collaborative work. Trends. Yeah, sprayed edge. No, I would say stenciled edges are getting more popular, which is the ones with the more patterns rather than the block color. But I think in terms of keeping up to date with everything, for me, I tend to go on Pinterest a lot in order to see what kind of typography trends there are, like what fonts are now in fashion, so I can start using them on covers, so I'm not going to the same font all the time, which I do have my favorite fonts, but there is always it's always nice to stay on top of font trends and all of that, as well as color trends. Obviously I don't even have it here. Oh, I've got it on my iPad. My favorite color last year, which is so obvious, is this kind of burgundy gold. But I put that on Empire of Gold, and then I put that on Sky Beyond Storm. I put that on the Betrayals, like ever so slightly. So it's just, I mean, that color was really popular, and I thought it's such a beautiful color. But then, the year before on Kingdom of Copper, it was this kind of nice emerald green that was quite popular. But yeah, I think in terms of trends, it's always trying to stay on top of things. And I think for every cover I do, I always make sure that I'm not just looking at other book covers in designing for it. So I will not just go on Pinterest and spend a whole day on Pinterest, which I do, but I also go to art exhibitions. I go to V&A. I go to the British Museum. I buy loads of art books. Like I'm doing a book with an Indian fantasy kind of backstory. So I buy books on Indian textiles, because you never know what kind of these different places that you can research and get inspiration from, compared to just knowing, just sticking to what you already know and just sticking. So I've seen a lot of very talented designers that have stopped researching trends, and then their books become repetitive, and then they don't stay current, so then their books look really dated. Like, for example, when I first started, you had a lot of textured backgrounds, which nowadays, having those kind of nice, more flatter backgrounds rather than heavy textured stuff, on like white texture and stuff like that, that doesn't really work these days. Or like drop shadow on kind of light colored backgrounds for the text, and like fake emboss on on covers and stuff like that. Those kind of things worked a few years ago, but not so much anymore. So yeah, trends are important.
So if you had to guess, a hard question, what will be the next trend after sprayed edges?
Oh, I don't know. Whatever it is, I'm excited for it.
I think.
Go on.
I
Make a
have
prediction.
ideas actually. No, I have, because I think now, Robyn, were you saying this on Friday? I think it's printing on board, and just not having the dust jacket anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just printing the whole design. on this without the dust jacket, and then making it look nice, because I just did a special edition for Fairy Loot for Vespertine by Margaret Rogerson, and that is just, the whole design is just printed on the Woodland, the board. So I think, I mean, it will save you all the effort while you're reading, trying to protect your jacket as
I always
much as
take the
possible.
jacket off. I don't understand the people that don't take the jackets off. Take the jacket off. Put
I
it
know,
on
but
when
then
you're
I take it
done.
off, and then like something starts leaning on it and starts getting
No, put it on the
crinkle or
shelf
something.
away from any damage, and then put it back on. It's like I don't crack
Oh.
spines when I read paperbacks. I read it like this.
You'd hate me though. I crack
Oh
every
no,
spine. I dog ear
no,
pages.
no, Micaela, no.
But okay, to save myself all that
Ugh.
grief, I'm reading a lot of books in manuscript form, so that's all on my Kindle. So no doggy earrings, those things.
Good.
So yeah. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. No, I don't take the dust jacket off.
Oh no.
So I
Oh,
don't
God.
crack the spines.
Well done.
Yeah.
Um,
That is a perfect spine.
That is
Amazing.
it. That's how they should look. That's how they should look.
But I do like keep it on to protect like the actual book.
Mm.
It really depends
Yeah.
though, because if it's someone, I make a choice of whether I like this more or whether I like this more. Like because there is which one was it? I don't know. I was reading one of them, and I was like, I don't mind the cover underneath. So then I take it off.
Yeah.
If I'm like, I love like this one. I love the underside. So I'm like, I want to, save my edges.
Yeah, no, I get the feeling. I mean, my husband took Sky Beyond the Storm on our recent holiday, and I had to just. I know he was going to read it at the beach. I know he was going to get like oily sunscreen fingerprints on it and stuff like that. So I know I have a second copy, so that's why I let him do that. But still, like, yeah, accept that things aren't going to be
This
perfect.
is why I don't let my
That's
books
when you
out
use
anymore.
books like this.
Yes, paperbacks, yeah. But he couldn't wait. He wanted to read the last book.
Yeah, little. I love that.
A formats. You don't see
Yeah, they
A
look like
formats
A
very
formats. They
often.
look small.
I think these are pretty old though. Like, see when they were published. Well, obviously, these books are not crazy old because I think they were 2015. Yeah.
I think the A formats just with really fat spines.
Love
Those
these
are the ones you usually get from airports and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got this from a friend. I don't know where she got them from, but it's
Love it.
one of my favorite series, really. I just finished all 3 of them in.
Are they good?
Oh, they're so good. Discovery of Witches.
I love
Haven't read
the
it yet.
TV show. Good.
TV show is so good, and
TV
they
show's good.
like. I don't want to talk too much about Discovery of Witches, but it's amazing. If you haven't read it yet, go read it.
It's very good.
Every book is about 700 pages, and I read all 3
Wow.
in like 4 days.
Oh wow.
I
I'm a
assume
slow
the
reader.
books are better than the TV show, though. Is always the case, right?
Well, you say that, but they've done such a good job.
Well,
Like they've run a really good job, and I can't wait for season 3. That comes out next year. We're losing.
Am I back? Am I back?
Hey, you're back. You're back. It's all good.
I can see
Oh.
my Wi-Fi has dropped out, and my data is like, you're running out, and I'm like, oh, okay.
no, don't do it.
Please laugh.
Gosh. Talking about favorite books, what is your favorite books just to read?
Robyn and I had this
Fantasy.
conversation on Friday. Fantasy, but if I had to say my all-time favorite book, it's Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. If you haven't read it, so good. I even put that above like a lot of popular favorite fantasy books. Yeah, it's my number 1 favorite fantasy. It is a fat book, and then the second one is really fat. We're still waiting, almost a decade on, for the 3rd book. So if you do commit to it, just be disappointed, because once you speed through it, because you probably will, you'll be waiting with all of us for Patrick Rothfuss to write his last one. But I know that he's also currently trying to develop the TV show with Lin-Manuel Miranda, from what I've heard.
Cool.
Yeah. So yeah, I think favorite book of all time. If you know, if
I don't think I
Gallant
could pick.
ever, if Gallant
Not
ever
of
want
all
me to
time.
redesign the covers, let me know.
Here's your shout out, people. You know what to do.
Woohoo!
I don't think I could pick a favorite book of all time. It goes through like what I'm into, but a book that I still think about now, and it isn't just because I worked on it, that I read is Threadneedle. That's really, really good.
Shout out to Andrew Davis, who
By
designed the
Kari
cover.
Thomas. Yes, Andrew Davis did this, and the Goldsboro designer as well, which is
Wow.
fun. This story
Which
is
is,
incredible,
I
and
would
this
say,
one's got really
so
cool
beautiful.
edge. Woo! Nearly.
I love that.
Fine. But no, it's a really, really great book. It's kind of like witchy, modern, but it has some like old school vibes, and I really, really loved it. So I highly recommend Threadneedle.
Amazing.
Yay!
Very good.
I
So
definitely
good.
want to put that on my list.
It's so good. I just keep shouting at my friends to read it. It's so good. So good.
I have a this or that question.
Okay.
If you had to choose between doing the design on the cover or inside papers with designs all throughout the book, which one would you pick and why?
Oh, hold on. Do I have my Ariadne? Does this have? Okay, so this one, I designed the end papers, but they were just for Waterstones
Yeah,
and
I don't have it.
Goldsboro.
This isn't.
I
I don't have
know
the
this
end
is
papers.
see
This
this is
isn't
what you know.
fair.
But it was only on the first print run, so they ran. Obviously, once that was sold out, then Waterstones now only have the one like
The
Robyn.
spine is lovely though. That spine is
Yes.
Thank you.
beautiful.
But if I had to choose, if it was a life or death situation, I'd choose the cover because at the end of the day, most of the content inside the book, the book at the beginning and at the end is the author's book, and I'm just part of the journey. But if I can be a part of the journey of someone picking up these incredible books, then and this is one thing I love. Another shout out is if you've not read The Binding, this book is freaking
It's so
phenomenal.
good. It's
So good.
so good.
Like every twist and turn completely caught me off guard. But sorry, I've got tons of paper stuck inside it. But basically, the beauty about partnering with Bridget, and Bridget is one of the nicest people you'll ever meet, is that she created such an incredible book, and I feel so honored to have created such a fun and beautiful cover for such a beautiful book, which has then made people want to pick it up, not just because of how it looks, but then want to pass it on to friends because the book inside is so good. And if I'm a part of that journey, then I love it. I can live without doing anything inside. If I had the choice, if I get to do both for every book that I do, then I will be happy as well. Yeah.
Robyn, do you have the same?
Sorry, I think my internet went out again.
Have the same choice?
So I don't get to design them. So as a customer and a buyer of the books, I want everything. I want foiling, I want sprayed edges, I want end papers, I want it all.
I completely agree with that. Like, I love when it's the entire package.
Mm.
Oh, do you know what I like as well, actually, that designers do? And they did a post about it recently on my Instagram, is title pages. Like, title pages are another design element that can often be overlooked. But I love it. See, that's stunning. Beautiful title page.
Yeah, I think a lot of people overlook those kind of things. Yeah. Sometimes I don't get to do those, though, which is quite sad.
Yeah, mine doesn't have it for the betrayals, but I do have these.
Yeah.
That end papers. Stunning.
Lovely.
But
I did love a good end paper.
My friend Emmy, who's a Dutch author, she got to work with the publisher she's also a designer, she basically got to design and publish her own book. She did like little drawings in between.
Yeah, so the binding has that, I think. Let's see.
I think they add a lot to the story, for me at least as a reader. I'm like seeing it more in my mind's eye.
Like these kind of
Oh
things.
yeah, lovely.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Another incredible illustrator called also Andrew Davidson, not Andrew Davis, but Andrew Davidson. Incredible. He did the Waterstones Harry Potter ones covers. They're just incredible. He does the original wood cutting liner prints for his illustration style. So literally everything is carved out on a wood block and then
Wow.
like printed. It's incredible. I have no clue how he does it.
That's actually one of the questions that we got from our audience. Is the tools of the trade. What is your favorite software design or Robyn for you project management tool that you guys use?
Robyn?
I mean, I live my life on Excel because I just like to have lists and spreadsheets for everything. So because especially with special editions, there are so many elements and for one book, but there'll be multiple editions. So I need to have tables upon lists so I can check those boxes off. So I live on Excel. I love a spreadsheet, which is a notorious production thing. I don't know I could do InDesign. I did it at university when I was doing my publishing MA and didn't find it the easiest. So luckily I don't have to design the books.
For me, I'm just trying to get this up. So on my Instagram, just my name, Micaela Alcaino Design. So Robyn was saying that I need to do more of these. I'm too lazy sometimes. But so my favorite software to use is Procreate on the iPad. But basically, I'll see if I can play this. So basically, what Procreate does is it actually records the whole journey of you illustrating.
Oh,
wow. Really cool.
So you can actually see the whole journey of kind of illustrating. So then I can show these to people without like, so yeah, you kind of get that whole, but not just that. So a massive part of my job is if I'm illustrating the cover, which a lot of these days I'm illustrating and designing the covers, is that I will start the first round concepts will always be black and white sketches so that people so that the kind of art team and the editor and all the execs can see where I want to take this cover, but it's not making me use all my time illustrating 6 to 8 covers with full final colored illustrations. So then on Procreate, I'll do something like this, which is what I did with Fairy Loot for the Catherine Arden special editions. I'm not sure if you can see too much, but I created 2 options where it was like, this one's the black and white. I'll show you the final product of this one. But then so it's a Russian folk kind of tale style book. So then you'll see like this one is more Russian influence, folk influence, while this one's a lot more graphic and illustrated.
I love them both. I want both.
Yeah. And so then I wrote underneath here going how I'll do the next 2 books and follow on with the series and for this one as well. So, you know, this one's focusing more on the fairy tale and this is more folky Russian design. So then with the final one, because then Fairy Loot was like, no, we like that one. So then, you know, I take it to final illustration and then, you know, I do all the next 3 final illustrations as well. And that's the beauty of Procreate, because before I used to use a Wacom tablet and I'd have to sit on my computer, plug in my Wacom tablet, you know, illustrate on that while Photoshop is on. But with Procreate, I always leave my illustrating until the nighttime where I can curl up on the couch, bang on a movie, and then just illustrate while, you know, I've got the movie in the background or something. And gosh, I don't know what to do with an iPad without an iPad these days. Literally, yeah. But then again, I don't know what I'd do without Photoshop. So, and InDesign. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
if you ever want to become a designer, learn these ones.
Oh God, yes. I do the social media for my job, and I had to learn Photoshop because our designers are fantastic, but with social media, I got to do it like this. I had
Yeah,
to learn like Photoshop from scratch.
that's
I can do it.
hard.
Oh, so hard. YouTube was my friend.
Yeah.
YouTube was my.
I don't know.
But I did things where my friend was like, "How? Why does that wouldn't work that way?" And I was like, "You watch, it works."
No, but Photoshop is this beautiful, any of the Adobe things, like Illustrator, Photoshop, InDesign, depending on your job, like I have no idea how to use InDesign if you're a designer for newspapers or magazines, because that is a whole nother, they learn so many different other ways of doing things. And the same with Photoshop. I have no idea how to use Photoshop other than designing for my own thing. And to be honest, there are probably always at least 3 different routes to take you to the same final look in Photoshop. It's just depending on how you learn, where you learn it from, and different quirky ways. When I worked in Penguin Random House and HarperCollins, all my design mates had different ways of doing things. And then I met up with another designer who said that he only illustrates on InDesign, which I've never heard of, but each person has their own way of doing things.
Yeah, so amazing. One of the things that I wanted to touch upon before we end, because we're almost at the end already. I feel like we could talk, for hours more on all of the amazing covers you guys have worked on. So we had a fantastic art of vlogging panel yesterday, and where there was a couple of our favorite bloggers that make covers on nails, or Amy
Yeah,
Loves Book is one that makes the entire cover on her leg.
Oh wow.
I've never
Yeah,
seen this before. That's amazing. I've seen the nail art. I think someone called Jenny on Instagram. She
yeah,
does nail art. Yeah, she's amazing. But I've never seen her on a leg before.
yeah. Amy underscore loves books. I believe it's her
Amy loves
Instagram.
it. We'll follow her.
She's got like the entire cover she will make on her leg. It's amazing. Christina who makes like an entire cosplay look around the look and feel of the covers.
What? That's crazy.
Yes, they were fantastic. Go check them out. They're so good. But
Yeah, sounds cool.
one of the things they were talking about is that the name of the designers often are not like put into the books.
So yeah, I mean, yeah. this is a
They'll
this
be
is a
put on
massive
the
topic.
jacket designs and
I
on the
know
cover design.
HarperCollins is good with that.
Oh,
A lot of other places don't. Penguin Random House sometimes don't. I think I know a lot of designers that work at Penguin. They can't put their name on, but because I'm an external freelancer that's been hired, I can, like, they will have to credit me. But I know a lot of places. Amazon will credit me on the hard jacket if it's hardback, but then they won't credit me on the back of the paperback. It'll be just inside the copyright page and stuff like that. So yeah, it's really hard. I think it's quite disappointing that designers don't get mentioned a lot, because I think a lot of sales is from the book cover design itself, and I think designers need to be championed. And a lot of the time we get forgotten. I was telling Robyn, like, I can count on one hand how many times I got invited to a book launch when I was in house.
Really?
Yeah. And a lot of the time it's like, oh no, we're so sorry, we forgot. And then because I'll be like, how was the book launch? Oh, you didn't come. Oh no, I wasn't invited, kind of thing. And I think we do need to appreciate again with the British Book Awards, the Nibbies. Only last year was the first ever time that an award was put for Best Designer of the Year. The last few decades, there's not been that category at all. So it's quite disappointing, especially as a designer. You want people to be credited for their work, especially with this kind of conversation going around copyright, intellectual property. I think a lot of people at least deserve a credit,
Definitely.
and somewhere where people can find it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's loads of other people that work on the books. Like Robyn, I don't think your name would be in a book that you work on, would it?
I mean, I think there's so many that I think it would get to a point where it maybe would be very difficult.
Yeah.
But I've been in a few books and I always find that really exciting. I'm in Empire of the Vampires Acknowledgements, which is very
Amazing.
cool, of This Our Country, which was done by the Borough Press. And it's always very nice when you find your name in a book if you've worked on it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's amazing that Harper does such a good job with doing that. And let's just hope that more people will start doing that, because, as you said, Micaela, like, you guys are a giant part of why people would pick a book up.
Yeah, well, we live in the age where people judge a book by a cover. So if you use that line, don't judge a book by its cover, you are making my job completely redundant. That's all I do. But yes, if you know the designer, whatever book that you're posting on Instagram or social media, full stop, whether it's Book Talk, Bookstagram, or anything like that, make sure you try your hardest to find the designer, because I think there needs to be a lot of shout outs for people, and I try my best to shout out to my friends when I see incredible covers, and I troll a lot of book cover designers going, this is amazing, this is gorgeous, kind of thing, because I think we do need to encourage everyone in these areas, and same as Robyn, I think HarperCollins have done such a great job in making sure that Robyn is known on these platforms, that she's been a part of this process as well.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I have one last question for you both, which is, what can we look forward to in the next couple of months, year, and where can we find you on social media?
Robyn.
What can you look forward to? I mean, a lot of it I can't say, but there's some good things coming for fantasy lovers. I don't want to say anything that I'm not allowed to say, but just stay tuned. And my Instagram is _prod_squad_books. So prod squad books. If you type it in, it'll come up. So a little play on words, because in production we like to call ourselves the Prod Squad. We had one bowling tournament once, so we had a trophy that said squad, and it was going to become a regular thing. And then there was a pandemic, so we are still the reigning champions of the Prod Squad, and I still have that trophy in my drawer. So yeah.
For me, gosh, I'm just gonna look at my Instagram because I'm gonna draw a blank. What I'm looking forward to, definitely Pandora, by Susan Stokes Chapman. This one. This book.
Amazing.
If you love the binding, or Ariadne, or a fusion of both, like this one.
Okay.
I loved reading the manuscript. I loved designing for it as well. I know that the indies will most likely have beautiful end papers, I can tell you that. A book cover I can't show you, but Jennifer Saint's next book. I'm really excited for that one. So stay tuned, because I'm hoping that cover gets revealed soon. Those are the two that I'll probably give a shout out. And my Instagram is Micaela Alcaino Design. I don't know if that's backwards or forwards for people, but that's the one. Give us a follow and I'll follow you back.
Definitely go follow these guys. I want to thank you both so much for this wonderful interview. As I said, we could have, talked hours more on all of these.
It's been really fun. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you having us today as well.
Absolutely. Go follow them, and I'm so excited to see more of you guys in the future.
Yay, thank you.